who's watching, sometimes we see some contradictions. Sometimes you see a square circle. Sometimes you see a good Ultima driver. And sometimes you see people like Texas Senator Ted Cruz saying pro-gay stuff. I don't think anyone would have imagined that, but you know what? Here we are, commemorating the beginning of Pride Month. We have Ted Cruz saying some pro-gay stuff. So, let's talk about it. Recently, a law passed in Uganda, and what this law would do is basically criminalize homosexuality further than it already is. So as we see here, the president of Uganda signed a punitive anti-gay bill on Monday that includes the death penalty, enshrining into law an intensifying crackdown against LGBT people in the East African nation. It is one of the world's most restrictive anti-gay measures. So what this does is basically, it does a couple of things. It criminalizes aggravated homosexuality, which, you know, includes things such as rape, shit like that, which should be criminalized, but also does things like having a consensual relationship with someone who's HIV positive. They consider that aggravated homosexuality, apparently. And that, along with other general things that are just anti-gay on top of that. It's a very bad law. It's a very complex law. And it calls for like a lot of shit that is just anti-gay. And they kind of couch it in the whole like, oh, let's protect people by like, you know, targeting people who should be targeted like predators, but then like all labeling them under the gay thing. It's the same thing that's going on in Florida. It's the same thing that Republicans are trying to do, which makes it really weird when a Republican from the state of Texas, Ted Cruz, our kind friend, Cancun Cruz, comes out and says, this Uganda law is horrific and wrong. Any law criminalizing homosexuality or imposing the death penalty for aggravated homosexuality is grotesque and an abomination. All civilized nations should join together in condemning this human rights abuse. #LGBTQ. And when we go further into another tweet that Ted Cruz sent out, this wasn't a one and done either. As you might have imagined, this was not a one and done tweet. This right here was actually followed up by Ted Cruz saying, in response to independent media personality Jenna Ellis openly disagreed with LGBTQ tweet from Ted Cruz. What Ted Cruz says is, Jenna, I'm not sure why you're defending this barbaric Ugandan law. It imposes life imprisonment for consenting adults who engage in gay fornication. That's ridiculous. You and I may not agree with their... And that's the point. You and I may not agree with their choices, but consenting adults should not go to jail for what they do in their own bedrooms. So, I will say currently Texas does have a law on the books. It isn't enforced because of a Supreme Court decision, which could very easily be overturned, especially with the state of this Supreme Court. But Texas does actually have a law on the books that does criminalize homosexuality. So, let's talk about why our kind friend Cancun Cruz may be saying all of this stuff. So, Ted Cruz is in a bit of a weird situation in the state of Texas, and that is mostly due to the fact that Texas is, in effect, a bit of a purple state. Texas is kind of in a situation right now where it is, while it is more likely that Republicans will win in the state, Democrats can actually win pretty big office in the state of Texas, which is a bad thing for Ted Cruz, as you might be able to imagine, because if let's just say Texas is only going to become more progressive over time, and so what Ted Cruz has to do is shift towards kind of more openly pro-queer kind of shit. And he's been getting a lot of shit for this from other Americans. He's been getting like a lot of shit from other conservative Americans for this shit, because he's effectively in a rock and a hard place. He can't be overly in support of this law because people go, holy shit, that's what Ted Cruz wants to do in the US. We need to band together to vote him out. And he also can't be overly against this law because what we're gonna see is well, let's just say you're gonna see some Republicans getting angry at Ted Cruz and misrepresenting the law. And let's just say this is one of the funniest things that I have seen happen recently in terms of the goings on with Cancun Cruz. And this is also a really good thing for us, okay? When corporations start signaling towards pro-queer politics, that means it is becoming less socially acceptable to be anti-queer. When you see a Republican politician in Yeehaw Bumblefuck, Texas, having to signal at slightly kinda pro-queer politics, saying like, hey, we shouldn't be criminalizing this, that means he knows that it is no longer all that popular to be anti-queer. Even if he is not kind of dog whistling, he is dog whistling, saying you and I may not agree with their choices. That's a dog whistle. He is still signaling at his audience that he is anti-gay. He is still forced to go, okay, look, I don't like him, but we shouldn't be criminalizing it. And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. Because that means he knows the writing's on the wall, and he can't be as virulent against us as he wants to be. Yeah? And this coming from someone like Ted Cruz, very good. Because this isn't some, like, non-prominent Republican, yeah? This guy isn't Rick Scott, who's the based Republican governor of Vermont, unironically. This is Ted Cancun Cruz, okay? This is the guy who was willing to have his wife be insulted to his face in order to ensure that he stayed in the good graces of Trump. This is the guy who was kind of running on like almost nearly the same platform as Trump was in 2016, but then just got blown the fuck out because Trump is more charismatic. This is the same guy. And he's having to signal pro-queer politics. That's good. That's really good. In Texas as well, you're right on here. It's not the position he holds. Texas is just more blue than it was, so he has to posture. Yeah. As Ethan Wood says in chat, Texas is becoming more blue as time goes on. Especially, dude, with what's going on with the political situation in Texas, especially with the Republican Party, Texas is going to only become bluer because they're fucking that state. Yeah. And as Texas becomes bluer, you can't be all that anti-queer. And Ted Cruz knows that, and he's trying to situation himself, and he's trying to put himself in a situation where he's less likely to get voted out. He's fucked. He knows it. And we know it from looking at this tweet. Not only this tweet, but the fact that he backed it up. It wasn't a one and done. It was a, this is bad, and then when someone on his side of the aisle tried to call him on it, he said, no, this is a barbaric law. Ladies and gentlemen, we're so Barack. We're so Barack. Listen, I thought it was Jover. But what this Ted Cruz tweet proves to us is that we are so Barack. We're Barack people. We're Barack Obama. We're Barack. Okay? So, what can you do to ensure that you see more of this? Make it explicitly clear to your politicians that the anti-queer shit isn't gonna fucking fly. That simple. Ted Cruz knows it. And if you can get Ted Cruz to move over on this position, you can get pretty much anyone to move over on this position, unless it's like DeSantis, who's a demon, and I will be covering, or if you're watching this video, I've probably already covered, and you can watch the previous video in the playlist on my channel. And what else you can do is you can join the Discord down below, so that you know whenever I'm going live, so that you can join this lovely chat over here, and so that you can also talk to me, maybe even debate me if you want to. Friendly conversation also, as well as this, you can follow me on Twitter, link down below. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I love you all. I'll see you on the next video. Peace. Gotta hit the stop recording button.